So, welcome to our very first podcast with Let's Go Solar with Mark. And I am so very honored to have Tyger Geldenhuis here with us today. He is the managing director of Trust Solar. They are solar rock stars here in South Africa. And I'm just so very honored to have you here.
Yes, thanks, Mark, for having us, and we're honored to be at your first podcast. So, yes, good stuff.
Well, thank you very much. So, what I wanted to ask Tyger is how are you finding the market since the demise of load shedding?
All right. Well, firstly, the solar industry quietened down radically 6 months before load shedding stopped. People don't realize this. And started to pick up again a few months before load shedding started. I know the load shedding itself didn't help the situation, that's for sure. But it was not the thing. I think there was such a surge of solar installations that it caused a void going after. And honestly, that's what I think is the thing. But from a business point of view, it was not easy, but it has picked up a lot, a hell of a lot, in fact. And I think the industry is back on track with a lot of new innovations and things, especially from Fox. So we are very looking forward to the future.
So, would it be a fair comment to say that the market has stabilized, that what we've had is that the decrease in the output of load shedding has actually been good for solar, that we've now reverted back to pure play 100% solar companies rather than guys that were installing CCTV and did solar on the side due to the massive demand?
Yes, it definitely did cleanse the industry of that, and left the more prominent and good installing companies still going, which is fantastic. And it definitely has reverted back to a more stable business going forward.
So would you find for customers that that means that the quality of installations that they're going to get now, that pure play solar companies that are solar professionals are doing, that the customer is actually going to get a better end result?
Yes, absolutely. The quality of work will be better with decent companies, and also not having situations where people have run away with deposits and all sorts of things. What we do is very specialized. Not even electricians should be trying to do solar. It's a specialized industry, and it needs to be done by people that know what they're doing. From a safety point of view, just all round, I think the industry is in a much better place than it was a few months ago with regards to that.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. So it's been a turbulent 2 years in the solar industry. We've gone from zero to hero really fast, and from hero to basically zero even faster. And while that's happened, there's been a massive 70% price drop in the price of solar panels, inverters, and batteries. So this is kind of a two-part question. How are we finding that in relation to the customer, and how are we finding that in relation to you as a business owner that has to work while earning 70% less than you were 18 months ago?
All right. Well, there's two parts to that. The end client is benefiting massively at the end of the day with this massive reduction. I mean, probably 50% or more price reduction, which means even on funding models, on everything, it's half the price than what it would have been, even in an installment or a cash sale, whatever the case may be, which in turn also brings more sales. So, and I think the market's starting to realize that. So there was that void where people didn't quite understand what was happening, but definitely now, with us having been able to offer residential finance as well as commercial, we found the surge is coming back. And that reduction has made it possible to have finance models that are actually coming in line with what they would have paid for electricity in the first place. So yes, there has been the good side of it. The bad side, of course, people think, oh, less turnover, less margin, and that did make it difficult for a lot of the companies. A lot of them also got stuck with old stock, which was still at the high price, which as suppliers like yourself couldn't have been easy. But yeah, I think it's been good for the industry actually, in total.
So if I read you correctly, what you're saying really is that the price drop means that we've reached the holy grail in solar, where the finance cost of a solar system is equal to or just less than what they would paying Eskom anyway.
Correct. That's correct. So especially with the drop in battery prices in lithium, it's actually made that possible. Of course, the panels and everything else, everything has dropped, but I think the major component when it comes to especially residential installations is to have a decent battery bank, because most people aren't at home in the day. So if you can store as much of the free electricity to be used at night, that battery was costly. Now it's half the price. So yes, in some cases, and a lot of cases, it's far less, or it is less to actually pay off the system than pay for the electricity that it generates. And that is, yes, the holy grail that we've been waiting for.
Sure. So that's very, very exciting.
Yes.
Nighttime solar power, cheaper than the finance cost and cheaper than what the utility can provide it from battery energy storage systems.
Correct. A few years ago, we were waiting for this, and we're now there.
Sure. That's absolutely fantastic. So you've been mentioning the words finance a lot. Finance for this, finance model here and there and whatever. So what has the impact? So I see Trust Solar out there in the marketplace doing a lot of finance work. In some ways, maybe leading finance differentiators, offering finance with a difference than what I traditionally see. So also a two-part question. So how are you finding the impact of finance in your day-to-day business? And what is Trust Solar doing that's maybe different than traditional solar finance?
I think a lot of the residential funding models out there, and there's not a lot, are not great. A lot of them are derived from financial companies that are trying to do installations or trying to do solar, where we are a solar company that has added a finance component, where people will deal with us if they have issues, not having to call a bank or so forth. They can deal with us. We look after the issues, the after sales. We have a full backup ready for that, where I don't think the financial institutions really have that type of backing. But when it comes to type of finance, I think it's important to talk about that, because this subscription-based type of finance, where people just pay ongoingly, is not great. And people are now finding that out. You know, they want to know that there's an end date to actually paying their system off. And I think that is what's driving our sales at the moment, by far actually, is that people can do that, and it's also cost effective to do it. They would have been paying for electricity anyway. They might as well pay off the system that generates the same amount of electricity. And I think that's important.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, is that there's a lot of solar subscriptions out there that customers are signing for and maybe aren't aware of the escalations that are coming their way, and they aren't aware that they are in essence going to be paying for the system forever. And even worse, if they don't like it anymore, what do they have to pay kind of to get out of something like that?
Yes, it's very important that they read the small print. A lot of them are getting caught with this, or have been caught, you know, and are struggling to get out of those contracts. It comes down to reading the small print and making sure you know what you're getting yourself into, because there aren't great models out there. And that has been important to us, to offer a good finance model.
So your guys' finance model, just in plain simple English without fine print, what is it? How does it work? You know?
Well, basically, no escalation. or if you want a very small escalation, and with an end date, you can do it up to 72 months. You can do it less, of course, if you want to. But at least there's an end date in sight. And when you've paid it off, it's yours. There's no, and if you want to pay it off shorter while you're in the contract, you can do that too, without any penalties or any nonsense. And I think that's important. So you can get and test the system, see how it's going, and maybe down the line you get a bonus or something, you can settle it, no problem.
So straightforward finance, just like I finance a car.
Correct.
Bada bim, bada boom, bada bang. Come to a solar specialist, like you buy a car from a car specialist that takes care of your service. The finance is in essence third party to the actual transaction. You buy your system, you spec your system, and you pay it off, and there's no super fine print that's going to come bite you.
Correct.
Well, that is absolutely just wonderful to hear. It gives me great joy because I'm seeing how well your adoption rate is in the market with just simple, straightforward business. Yeah. And in my opinion, that is just tremendous value to the industry and tremendous value to actual customers. So in ending, we're in solar at the moment. How do you feel the future of solar is?
Well, the figures show that we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg yet. I think we're on 1% or something to that effect. So theoretically, we've got a long way to go. And yes, I really feel we are at the beginning because, if just as we think the market's getting saturated or whatever, all of a sudden the business picks up and, starts to go forward again. And with all the new innovation and new technology that's coming in, at the price that it's coming in at, coupled with the finance models that are available out there from good solar companies, like I say, I think we've only just started. Really, it's an exciting time in the solar industry. I can really tell you that.
Well, that is fantastic. Well, I wanted to say, Tyger, you've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you.
Very, very patient while we set up this quick mock-up studio here at our mockupstudio.com. And with that being said, I want to say huge thank you for you guys for tuning in and watching our first episode. So let's go solar.
Thank you, Mark.
It's a wrap.